We live in an era where the line between biological thought and digital calculation is blurring, leaving us to question what it truly means to be intelligent. Before we dive into the heart of the machine, I invite you to join our community by subscribing to the channel, so you never miss a journey into the depths of human and artificial nature. Your engagement is the fuel that keeps this exploration alive, and I want to hear your thoughts in the comments as we peel back the layers of the digital ghost. Let us begin by stripping away the illusions and facing the reality of the silicon brain. For many years, the conversation around artificial intelligence has been trapped between two extreme and equally false narratives. On one side, we have the prophets of doom who portray AI as an unstoppable superintelligence, a digital god destined to surpass and eventually replace its creators. They speak of a technological singularity, a point in time where the machine becomes so powerful that human intervention becomes obsolete. This narrative is fueled by cinematic tropes and a deep-seated fear of the unknown, painting a picture of a world where we are no longer the masters of our own destiny. On the opposite side, we find the skeptics who dismiss the entire field as nothing more than glorified arithmetic or advanced statistics. They argue that there is no there, claiming that the complexity we see is just a clever illusion built on spreadsheets and math. To them, the machine is just a calculator with a better interface and capable of anything resembling true understanding. This view is equally dangerous as it leads to a complacent dismissal of a tool that is fundamentally reshaping our economy, our politics, and our social fabric. The truth, as it often does, lies somewhere in the quiet middle ground, far away from the shouting of the extremists. Artificial intelligence is neither a magical entity, nor is it merely a simple counting machine. It is a unique bridge between human intent and computational power, a system that mimics the results of intelligence without ever possessing the essence of it. To truly grasp what we have built, we must first remove the layers of hype and the fog of mystery that marketing departments have carefully cultivated. When we look at the modern world in the year 2025, we see AI everywhere, from the recommendations on your streaming service to the diagnostic tools used by doctors. But because we do not understand the underlying logic, we treat it as a black box, a mysterious container where data goes in and answers come out. This lack of transparency creates a vacuum that is quickly filled by superstition and irrational anxiety. If we want to live alongside this technology without being paralyzed by it, we must open that box and look inside at the gears and levers. Rather than being powered by some ethereal mystery, modern artificial intelligence is built on a logic that is surprisingly simple. At its core, what feels like a complex consciousness today began as a humble attempt to automate a basic human survival skill, the ability to recognize patterns. Our ancestors survived by recognizing the pattern of a predator in the tall grass or the pattern of a ripening fruit on a branch. We have spent decades trying to teach machines to do the exact same thing, translating the messy reality of the world into a language that a processor can understand. By tracing the history of AI back to its origins in the mid-20th century, specifically around the year 1956, the black box begins to lose its shadow. We can see that the evolution of this technology was not a sudden explosion of genius, but a slow, iterative process of trial and error. Each breakthrough was a small step in understanding how to represent information and how to refine the way a machine processes that information. When you see the steps, the magic disappears, and you are left with a masterpiece of human engineering. To understand why modern AI feels so different, we first have to look at the failures of the past, specifically the limits of traditional programming. For decades, computers operated on a strict diet of if-then logic, where a human programmer had to write down every single rule for the machine to follow. If you wanted a computer to identify a cat, you had to describe every possible feature of a cat in lines of code. You would tell it that a cat has pointed ears, a long tail, and whiskers, thinking that this would be enough. However, the real world is far too chaotic for such a rigid approach. What happens when the cat is curled in a ball, or when only its tail is visible, or when the lighting makes its ears look rounded? The traditional program, bound by its strict rules, would fail the moment it encountered a variation it hadn't been specifically told about. Programmers quickly realized that it was impossible to write a set of rules that could cover every exception and nuance of reality. This realization exposed the fundamental limitation of human-centered coding. We know more than we can explain. This wall led to a monumental shift in the way we approach computation, moving away from hard-coded rules and toward the era of machine learning. Instead of supplying the machine with a list of rules, we began supplying it with a massive volume of examples. Think of it like a child learning what a chair is. A parent doesn't give a child a mathematical definition of a chair's dimensions. Instead, they point at 100 different objects and say, "This is a chair," until the child's brain independently identifies the underlying pattern. In this new paradigm, the AI acts as the student, and the data acts as the teacher. By comparing millions of labeled cases, the system begins to notice subtle correlations that a human programmer could never articulate. It might notice that certain pixel arrangements are always present when a cat is in the frame, even if those arrangements are too complex for us to describe. From these examples, the machine builds its own internal map of the world, discovering a logic that is effective, even if it remains largely hidden from our view. The architecture that allows for this type of learning is known as a neural network, a structure inspired by the biological neurons in the human brain. These networks process information in layers, with each layer acting as a filter that extracts different levels of meaning. Imagine an image being passed through these layers like water through a series of sieves. The first layer might only look for simple lines or edges. The next layer might combine those lines into shapes like circles or squares, and the deeper layers might recognize those shapes as eyes, noses, or ears. This layered process allows the machine to move from raw, meaningless pixels to a recognizable form one step at a time. However, it is vital to remember that the machine never actually sees the cat in the way that you or I do. It doesn't have a concept of a living, breathing animal that likes to sleep in the sun. To the neural network, the cat is just a high-probability collection of numerical patterns that match its training data. It is a mathematical approximation of sight, powerful yet devoid of any actual experience. When an AI model is first born, it is essentially useless, performing its tasks with no better accuracy than a random guess. Its journey toward proficiency is paved with constant feedback and massive amounts of adjustment. Every time the model makes a wrong prediction during its training phase, a signal is sent back through the network, telling it to change its internal settings. These settings, known as parameters, are like billions of tiny knobs that can be turned slightly to the left or right to improve the outcome. Over time, through millions and millions of these tiny corrections, the system tunes itself until the error rate drops to nearly zero. This process, often called backpropagation, is what allows the AI to produce results that are consistently and hauntingly accurate. Yet, even at the height of its performance, the system is still just balancing an equation. It has learned how to get the right answer, but it has never learned the why behind it, operating purely on the mechanics of optimization. As we moved into the year 2022 and beyond, a new branch of this technology took center stage: generative AI. Unlike previous systems that were designed to categorize or recognize data, generative models are built to create new content entirely. They do this not by understanding the world, but by predicting what comes next in a sequence. When you give a prompt to a language model, it isn't thinking about your question. It is calculating which word is statistically most likely to follow the previous one, based on everything it has ever read. By absorbing the vast entirety of human digital output, from classic literature to casual forum posts, these models have become exceptionally good at mimicking human patterns. They can produce text that feels poetic, music that sounds soulful, and images that look like masterpieces. But this creativity is driven by probability, not inspiration. It is an echo of the collective human voice, a sophisticated mirror that can reflect our own styles and ideas back at us with startling clarity. This brings us to a profound realization: AI is not an alien mind that has arrived from another dimension. It is a reflection of humanity itself, shaped and molded by the data we have generated over the last few decades. The biases, the beauty, the wisdom, and the flaws of our species are all encoded into the models we build. When an AI speaks, it is speaking with the fragments of a billion human conversations. It amplifies our history at a massive scale, showing us both the best and the worst of what we have put into the digital world. Because these systems are mirrors, they do not have the ability to reason or verify the truth in the way a human does. They are prone to hallucinations because they are not prioritizing facts. They are prioritizing the continuation of a pattern. If a lie is the most statistically probable next step in a sequence, the machine will tell that lie with the same confidence as a truth. Understanding this is the key to using AI responsibly. recognizing that it is a powerful tool for synthesis but a poor judge of reality. In the final analysis, artificial intelligence is not wise, it is not conscious, and it is not creative in any human sense of those words. Its immense power comes from three very simple things: repetition, scale, and feedback. When you take a simple mathematical process and execute it billions of times across vast amounts of data, the result is a complexity that appears to be intelligent. It is a triumph of quantity becoming quality, where the sheer volume of computation creates the illusion of a soul. Replacing our fear with this clarity allows us to see AI for what it truly is: a fundamentally human-built tool. It is an extension of our own capabilities. Much like the steam engine was an extension of our muscles, or the telescope was an extension of our eyes. It is a machine that helps us process the overwhelming complexity of the modern world, making sense of data that is too vast for any single human brain to hold. By understanding its limits, we regain our agency and our power over the technology. As I look at the trajectory of our world in this year, 2026, I realize that the most important lesson we can learn is that technology is a magnifying glass. If we use it with wisdom and intent, it can solve the greatest challenges of our age, from curing diseases to reversing climate change. But if we use it with ignorance or malice, it will only amplify our existing divisions and errors. The machine does not have a moral compass. That is a part of the hardware that only we can provide. I want to leave you with a question to ponder. If the machine is a mirror of our collective history, what kind of future are we feeding into it today? Are we providing it with the data of a compassionate and thoughtful society, or are we giving it the fuel of anger and misinformation? Your digital footprint is more than just data. It is the blueprint for the intelligence of tomorrow. Think about how you contribute to that collective mirror every time you interact with the digital world. Thank you for spending this time with me, exploring the intricate dance between human thought and machine logic. If this journey through the digital mind has sparked something within you, please remember to subscribe to the channel and join our growing community. Together, we will continue to explore the mysteries of our world and the tools we build to understand it. Until next time.